Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And Who That Nation, I'm at my home right now. I just got back from the Myrtle Beach Jazz Festival that I did with 90.9 FM, where I work. They had an event. So I'm doing this about 10:30 at night Eastern Standard Time. So just wanted to talk a little bit about the Saints versus Cincinnati Bengals game and give you my overall prediction of how I feel that game is going to go. If you've been following New Orleans Saints this week, you know that the Saints are loaded with injuries. I mean, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, Marshawn Lattimore, like some key players that have not been at practice. Dennis Allen already confirmed that Michael Thomas isn't going to play. It looks like Jarvis Landry isn't going to play. And Chris Olave has been limited in practice, so it doesn't look like he's going to play. And this team is going up against the team that was the runner-up in last year's Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Joe Burrow. And they had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I mean, they got an embarrassment of riches when it comes to talent offensively. And defensively, they're really good as well with a bunch of former Saints on the team. You got Trey Hendrickson, you got Von Bell, and you got Eli Apple. But, this is going to be a tough game for the New Orleans Saints. This would be a tough game for them, even if the New Orleans Saints had all hands on deck. But it's going to be extremely hard for this team to be able to weather the storm when you are very, very limited offensively. And this is a team that has found ways to lose games and has been struggling offensively throughout the season, even with key guys. So the fact that they finally got their footing last week versus the Seattle Seahawks, putting up 39 points. Now you look at a team going up against the Cincinnati Bengals and you're wondering to yourself, where's the production going to come from? All right. They're going to be zeroing in on Taysom Hill and they're going to zero in on Alvin Kamara. So it's going to take some of these other guys to be able to step up. It's going to take Marquez Callaway to step up. It's going to take Keith Kirkwood to step up. And it's going to take Traquan Smith to step up, as well as Adam Troutman and so many other these young guys out here that the Saints are going to be relying on to get that dub. The Cincinnati Bengals defensively are really, really good. All right. They're opportunistic defense. They can get turnovers and they can shut down the run. Last week, the Saints ran the ball 48 times for over 200 yards. And the Cincinnati Bengals are ranked in the top 5 when it comes to rush defense. So it should be interesting to see if the New Orleans Saints will be able to run against a formidable team. Now, I know last week we were really excited about all the points the Saints put up, but this is the game that's going to decide if that was just an outlier or the Saints really turning the corner. As far as what the Saints need to do in order for them to win this game, the Saints are going to have to be able to run the football. Okay, that's going to take Alvin Kamara. It's going to take Taysom Hill. That's going to take even Mark Ingram, who has been struggling as of late. I don't know what's going on with Mark Ingram. Last week, he had 1.8 yards a carry. It seems like he just cannot get off the ground. The Saints are going to need a better effort from Mark Ingram, especially in a game versus Cincinnati Bengals, where the offense is going to be limited. Going to need the offensive line to be able to have another good game. Last week, I feel like they played really well. So hopefully they can capitalize on a very good week last week and be able to follow that up with a really good offensive line performance this week. The wide receivers, Traquan Smith, once again, he has got to be able to catch some of those tough catches. You can't be feast or famine. One time he catch an unbelievable catch, and then the next thing you know, the ball is going through his hands. You got to be able to make those catches because those catches could decide if the Saints convert on third down. It can decide if the Saints are in field goal range. So the Saints are really going to need Traquan Smith to hold on to the football. Also, you have to utilize the screen game. Adding Dalton last week did a really good job getting the ball in the hands of Alvin Kamara in space, and it allowed Alvin Kamara to be able to make plays, especially that big screen pass that he turned into about a 70-plus yard run. So they're going to need a little bit more of that, all right? And also, once again, running the football, controlling time possession, being able to convert on third downs. Defensively, last week it wasn't really good. The safety play was terrible. Geno Smith was able to get shots downfield, and the safeties were nowhere to be found. Sound tackling needs to be the key. There were some plays last week. I felt like the safeties kind of phoned it in. Don't want to see that this week. Should be better because Marcus May is coming back. He should be able to play in the game this Sunday. He's a guy that's really good at, sound tackling. He's also really good in stopping a run. We've seen some plays where he actually made some tackles, and the loss of yards for a running back in the backfield. And, Tyrann Mathieu, going to need him to really step up, maybe even get a turnover. Marshawn Lattimore more than likely isn't going to play. So it's going to take Bradley Roby. It's going to take Paulson Adebo. It's going to take these guys to be able to step up and make big plays in big situations. Also, I don't expect for the New Orleans Saints to try to blitz Joe Burrow. I expect for them to try to get home with 4. I said a couple episodes ago of the State of the Saints podcast, I feel like the Saints need to play this game similar to the games that they normally play versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Joe Burrow can scramble out of the pocket, all right? He's not a statue back there. But I feel like with the talent that the Cincinnati Bengals have, I feel like the Saints need to run that same scheme. The Saints have got to get home with 4. That means Marcus Davenport has got to step up. That means that Cam Jordan has to bring his A game. That means that some of these guys like Tano Passanio, some of the guys that they're using have got to be able to get pressure on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is an incredible quarterback, but one thing is for sure that he holds on to the football a little bit too long, and he kind of, puts himself in a precarious position, and it also it gets the defense opportunities to be able to get them down on the ground. We talk about the New Orleans Saints and their offensive line. Even though Joe Burrow has a really brand new offensive line, there's still like, they still are like top when it comes to giving up sacks. So it's not like the New Orleans Saints can't get sacks on Joe Burrow. Combined with the offensive line play as well as Joe Burrow holding on to the ball too long, the New Orleans Saints can definitely be able to get home. Another thing, looking at the Cincinnati Bengals offense, they're really good, right? You got Joe Burrow, you got Joe Mixon, who can not only run in between the tackles, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And also you got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, you got Taj Boyd. You got some really good heavy hitters out there, and those guys can put up points. And this is going to be a very competitive game. So the New Orleans Saints have got to get pressure on Joe Burrow in order to speed up that clock at his head, in order for them to maybe get some turnovers. And we know Joe Burrow is good, but he can turn that ball over. How do I see this game going? This is going to be tough, man. But I'm going to go ahead and say the Saints are going to win this football game. This is going to be one of those games. It's not going to be easy for the New Orleans Saints. It's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be one of those games where it's going to need crowd participation. Last week, the New Orleans Saints crowd, the fans, really made it tough for the Seattle Seahawks in tough situations. What the Saints need to do is make sure that the crowd stays engaged in the game. And how do you do that? Well, you go out there and you make plays and you make it competitive. And you go out there and convert offensively, and you go out there and make plays defensively, and the crowd will not let you down. But this is going to be a close game, but I got the Saints winning this football game. I won't give a score this week because based on some of the injuries, it's hard for me to decide what the score is going to be. But I do believe that the Saints going to win this football game. And also, I know they got a lot of Saints fans out there that are going to the game. They're happy that Joe Burrow is coming into town. Jamar Chase is coming into town. Look, I completely understand that. Being a Louisianian, I understand the significance of Joe Burrow winning the Heisman Trophy, bringing the national championship to LSU, along with Jamar Chase and all those other great guys that was on that great offensive team. But look, this is the New Orleans Saints. This is the Superdome, all right? When Joe Burrow comes out, he gets introduced, you clap, you cheer, But when it's time for the Saints to play, all right, you got to make it rough and you got to make it tough for Joe Burrow and a Cincinnati Bengals offense to be able to hear in there. Anybody that's out there talking about they conflicted and all that kind of stuff there, I question your fandom. I question your fandom as a Saints fan because there's no way in the world, I don't care who it is, right? You should never love a person more than you love your own hometown team, all right? I want to see Joe Burrow do great, just not this game. I want to see Jamar Chase do great, not this game. I want to see Trey Hendrickson do great, not this game, all right? Von Bell, not so much Eli Apple because he a straight up scrub, but I want to see those guys do well, right? So, but if you're around here talking about you conflicted, I got to question your fandom, man. I'm sorry. I got to question that. But that's the way I see the game going. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about the Saints versus Cincinnati Bengals game? What do you think the score is going to be? I'm not going to give a score, especially with all these injuries. But make sure that you let me know. Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all so much. I apologize. I didn't have a long podcast this time, but once again, Who Dat Nation, doing some things at the radio station out there at the festival. We're going to be out there all weekend long. So I apologize that I won't be able to give you all long podcasts this weekend, but I'll make sure that I give you all, little short snippets here, to make sure that we have consistency with the State of the Saints podcast. But keep it locked right here to the State of the Saints podcast for all your New Orleans Saints news and up-to-date information. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. We're about 8 subscribers away from 9,000 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed already, please do so. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is